Alright, we are going to make an Ogive for statistics. This would be page 141 of day 16 in the notes. And we have the previous information from the cumulative frequency distribution from the previous page in the notes that I'm going to use to help us make this. It's a distribution of test scores that we have. And I know that these aren't going to be the brightest, biggest numbers, but basically we are using, on the bottom of this Ogive, we are using our bins. So down here is our score bins. The title of this Ogive is going to be test scores. And this is what we call an Ogive is a cumulative frequency graph. Okay, so an Ogive is the name given to what's called a cumulative frequency graph. This graph is going to end up being a line graph. Okay, not necessarily a straight line. It's probably going to have some curve to it. And this graph is highly useful in finding the percentages of things. Cumulative percentages. Cumulative means just adding on top, adding every single section on top of the other. So along here are the score bins, okay, so the test scores. Test score Ogive right here is what we're making. And these are going to be along the side. What we have along the side are the percents. So along the side we'll have the percents. And so in an Ogive, a cumulative frequency distribution, the percents go from 0 up to 100%. So these are the percents, frequencies, the relative, cumulative, relative, frequency. Okay, frequency all by itself means how many. Relative frequency means a percent of the total. Cumulative relative frequency means a running sum of the percent of the total. So along here we're going to have 0%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, and all we're doing, what we should know about this Ogive, and here this would be our bins. I'm going to turn this to the side to write these. 0 up to 10, this is up to 20, up to 30, and these numbers are not, the top numbers are not included. It's up to those numbers. So this next one includes 40 up to but not including 50. 50 up to but not including 60, 60 and up to but not including 70, 70 up to 80, 80 up to 90, 90 up to 100. And so basically what we've done, all we've done here is we've taken this part goes in the horizontal, the X, and these numbers now that we have over here, these cumulative percents, are going to be graphed at each point. And we can start, basically this would represent 0 up to 10, 10 up to 20. So when we start at 0, we're at 0%. And then at the end of this, we should know that we should end up right here. So it's not going to be a straight line. I absolutely guarantee it. It's going to be some kind of curve. So all we're doing is for each of these, from 0 to 10, we're graphing 1%. So our graph starts right there at 1%. In this next bin, 10 to 20, we are going to go up to 4.5%. Okay, the next bin, 20 to 30, is 9%. Notice I'm just choosing to go to the last mark because this would represent 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 and 60. Okay, that makes sense. All right, the next mark from 30 to 40, I'm going to go up to 15%. And what we're doing each time is we want to kind of connect this. All right, so then from 40 to 50, I go up to 26.5%. and then to 43.5%. See how it's not going to be a straight line, it's much more of a curve. These are very pretty graphs. All right, so now the next one is 67.5%. And then the next one is 87%, 96.5%, and then finally 100%. And so this is our Ogive. We can answer a whole lot of questions using our Ogive. So the question says, about what proportion scored less than 45? So what percent scored less than 45? All right, well, we may not have been able to answer that from our other plot that we made earlier, from our box plot that we made, or from our relative frequency, just our chart that we just used this to fill in with. But we can certainly answer the question using our Ogive. So using our Ogive, what we can do is answer the question about what proportion scored less than a 45. So 45 is going to be about right in here. Okay, so I'm going to go up to then, I'm going to zoom in for you so you can see. Maybe not. Yep, there we go. Okay, so on this graph, if I go to the 45, I can go up here and then find my way over to this, and it would tell me that 20% did. All I have to do is look up points on here. These are the scores, these are the percents. Okay, so the next question says, what score separates the lower half of scores from the upper half of scores? So this is the second question right below this graph in your notes. You should be putting this right on your notes as I go over this. So what score separates the lower half of the scores from the upper half of the scores? Well, what percent separates the half? 50%. This is upper half, okay, and lower half of the score. So let's find out what score it goes with. Let's go over to the Ogive, find where it intersects that, and go down, and that would be approximately between 60 and 70. I would say approximately a score of 62. So approximately a 62 test score would be the answer to the second question here. What scores separate the lower half from the upper half? 62. All right, we have a definition here. The pth percentile, pth could be the 10th percentile, the 20th percentile, the 30th percentile, okay? So in this next blank, let me zoom back out again. Okay, the pth percentile of a distribution is the value in the distribution such that p% of the observations lie at or below that level. Okay, and that's exactly what an Ogive tells us. This percent right here tells us what percent lie below that 50% right there. So you could, or that score of 50. So 25% scored 50 or less. All right, so we want to answer the questions, what is the 30th percentile? Okay, in other words, where is what test score goes with the 30%? So I find 30%, I go over to here, I find the dot on the graph, I go down to the test score, I estimate it's between 50 and 60. I would say approximately 53 would be the 30th percentile. What is the 70th percentile? All right, so I find 70% up here. 70%, go over to the Ogive, go straight down, and the 70th percentile is about a 71, 72. Okay, it's up to, a little bit of an estimate. What is the median? The median would be the middle. The median is the 50th percentile. That's really all the median is. So we already found the 50th percentile. That would be 62. We already did that. Make a box plot of the test scores. All right, it's very important that you can go from this Ogive to a box plot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of fold this paper up. Okay, I'm making a box plot of the test scores, but I'm going to put it like right below here. Okay, so here's what you need to know. You can make a box plot very easily. In the middle of the box plot, basically we've got our x-axis down here. We're going to put the same marks. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Okay, it's right along, you know, here we've got the same exact scale right in here. Okay, so now the 50th percentile is the median. Okay, remember, 5-number summary. The minimum, okay, the lowest test score. All right, the maximum, we need the maximum. All right, the median we can find, and we can find Q1 and Q3. Okay, our box plot isn't going to be quite as fancy, but the median is the 50th percentile. Q3 is the 75th percentile. You need to know this, you need to memorize it. Q1 is the 25th percentile. All right, we're going to assume the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 100. So we need to find where our median is. Well, we already found that. The 50th percentile we already found earlier was at approximately 62. So the middle of my box in my box plot goes at about 62. All right, the Q1 would be the 25th percentile. So find the 25th percent, go over here, go straight down. I'd say that would be right at 50. So the Q1 is 50, a score of 50. The 25th percentile is a score of 50. There's the lower end, there's Q1. There's the median. All right, Q3 is the 75th percentile. So we go up to 75, go over here, go straight down. It's probably about, it looks like 75. So Q3, the 75th percentile, I would say is about a 75. So there's 75 right there. There's my box plot. We're going to assume that the maximum score is 100, the minimum is 0, and there would be our box plot. And every Ogive can be translated to a box plot. So again, it's important that you know this. It's important that you know how to make a cumulative relative frequency distribution or an Ogive. And a big thing is that you really understand that Q1 is the 25th percentile. The median is the 50th percentile. Q3 is the 75th percentile. And you can find those by starting in the percent column and working your way back, straight across to the graph, straight down to the horizontal axis. All right, you should easily be able to complete page 72, problem 6 and 13, and page 95, that whole fun list of problems there, by the next time I see you on Thursday. Thank you very much.